live on YouTube as well. Okay, so I got this recording there, and we should be pretty good here. Okay, every single week. So this is a learning process for me. All right, so hello. All right, so we are going to get started. I am a couple of minutes late here. I sort of lost track of time. I was analyzing quite a bit. So welcome. It is Monday, November the 6th, and welcome to Money Matters. I am Hung Lu with Cash Property Inc. And in the next 30 to 45 minutes, we're going to look at some deals on, whatever platform we go to. Today, we're not going to be looking at a specific deal. What we're actually going to do is I got a request to talk a little bit more about some of the reports. And so I am going to share that as well. And then we're going to talk about my Uncle Vic, and we're going to talk about DSRs. So we'll do that. And then I do have a couple of questions that came in. So I want to answer those questions today as best I can. So for the next 30 to 45 minutes, that's what we will do. I'm going to put a disclaimer out there as well, as always. So before you go and implement any of the information that I give you today, please go and talk to another real estate investor, talk to your lawyers, financial advisor. Make sure that the strategies that I'm using for myself is a good fit for you, and that before you do anything, just make sure you get a second or third opinion on that. Okay, so before we get into it, I do want to do, how many shout outs do I have? Oh, I have 3 shout outs today. Okay, so the first one is to my friend Matthew Lacour. He is hosting a fundamentals of underwriting. I would call it like a boot camp course thing, because he's doing it for one day, November the 12th in Ottawa. It's an in-person session. So if you're in Ottawa, if you're able to get there, I would highly recommend going to this fundamentals of underwriting with Matthew. I have not sat through an underwriting course with Matthew, so I will put that disclaimer out there. My recommendation to attend the underwriting with Matthew is because Matthew knows his stuff when it comes to real estate. He looks at it from a very analytical point of view, and he brings in a lot of insights, and he's very vocal, very honest about his interpretation of information. And so, even if you go there for, the 6 or 7 hours and you walk away with one strategy within underwriting, it'll be well worth your time. Okay, so highly recommended to make that connection with Matthew. Okay, so that is in Ottawa. I do have a link, so let me put that in. Okay, so I do have my Facebook stuff open, so let me see if I can dump that into Facebook. Okay, so that will be in the Facebook chat, and I will also make a point of figuring out how to get it onto the YouTube chat, and then that way, if you're interested in attending Matthew Lacour's Fundamentals of Underwriting in Ottawa, okay, Ottawa, Ontario, I would recommend that. Okay, my second shout out is to my friend Julie in Toronto. Hi, Julie. Please give a hug to Annabelle and Michael. Julie is a fabulous friend of mine for years and years and years, and a big supporter of my work. So I just want to say thank you, girlfriend. Really appreciate all the support. Okay, and I want to give a shout out to Mel Cassis, and I hope I say that right. Thank you for your lovely comment on my last video on YouTube. So I appreciate you watching, and absolutely. So please subscribe. And if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so now. Okay. All right. So one pitch there. Okay. So let's get into it. So we're going to get into the deal analysis. So today we're going to look more into the report. So last week we talked about where I go to get some of my information, and I was asked to share a little bit more and talk about where else I go to. So let me share my screen here, and you will see a couple of more, reports that I look at. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so you'll see my PDF. right now. And you might see more of my desktop here. Okay, so this is a report that comes from CBRE. So this is an older report from spring of this year. Okay, but you can get access to these reports for free. Okay, and they go into market information. So, there are, so one of the things that got reinforced in me when I was a part of the REEN program is that the data is presented in a certain way. And so you do have to take every piece of data that you get with a grain of salt. Okay, so one of the things that REEN really taught me was that you can go and do an undergraduate program in just data analysis. Okay, so there's people who study 4 to 5 years in just data analysis. Okay, so take everything with a grain of salt. So this report, it's something that I go through and then I pull away a couple of things. So this is one of the reports that you can go to. Okay, so it's CBRE. At one point, I was looking at properties in Boston, and so I came across this report that was put together by Avis and Young. And so you can get reports from Avis and Young as well. So the last time we got reports from Collier. So Avis and Young and Collier's, I would say, are competitors of each other. So, it's good to get different insights on the data. Okay, so this would be another company website I would go to, and you can get all their reports. CMHC is another place to go and get reports. So let me see here. So is this one, and I think this might be an older report as well. So let me just move this out of the way. Yeah, so this one was from fall of 2017. So I must have been doing some work in the Gatineau area and was looking for data. And so, so this report was from 2017. Okay, and then so CMHC, of course, is another great place to get data, and they have data all across Canada. So you can't go wrong with this data. CMHC also provides data in Excel form. So you can download the Excel and then manipulate it the way you want. So now I say manipulate because if you don't know how to manipulate it, you're going to get some wrong information or potentially make some wrong assumptions there. Okay, so then I was also doing, I guess, some research in Guelph in 2017. So I have like an older report from that area too. Okay, I was on CMHC, so let me see if I have a newer CMHC report that I can share with you guys. Let's see here. So, oh yeah, so I do have one that is more recent from CMHC. So let me open that up. Oh, maybe not. Okay, let me go over here. So I do have, or I thought I had one. Maybe I don't. Yeah, because nothing is coming. Oh, we're here. Market rental report. Okay, yes, I do. Oh, but it says that it's from 2022. So let's see how this looks. Oh, okay, yeah. So it's weird because in my notes on the file it says it's 2022, but in the report it's 2023. So this is the January edition of the market. And you can see it's 164 pages, so that's pretty intensive. So it's going to give you the rental market report from January 2023 edition, and you can download this report from the CMHC website, right? So there it is right there. And you can sign up for notifications and they'll send you whenever they update the reports. Okay, so one of the reasons why this is such a big report is because it's all across Canada. Okay, so this is definitely something that you can, go to get a good idea. And if you're trying to decide which market to go into, this might be a good starting point because you want to get a good understanding of what the rental market is in the area that you're going to invest in. Okay, so that's what I'm going to say about market reports. So the CBRE and the CMHC reports, those two reports. Okay. So good. So let me now go into the actual calculations here. So let me stop my share and I'm going to bring up the Excel sheet. So this is something that I use not very often, but I use it periodically. So I want to share it with you guys because it's a great way to analyze properties. Okay, so this is my it's VIC. Okay, so I'd like to use my Uncle Vic this idea. So it's VIC. Okay, so what it is you just remember the I's on top, the C and the V. So you start on the right bottom and VIC, okay, and you form this triangle, and if you just remember this, this is a good way to remember it. Okay, so let me put my notes down here. So in terms of your Uncle Vic, okay, or my Uncle Vic, I wish I had a better story about Uncle Vic, because that might give you another way to remember that information. Okay, so V is the value of the property. So it could be the purchase price, it could be the after repair value. Okay, so I'm just gonna make that change here. So it's the after repair value. Okay, and there we go. Okay, after repair value, the I is the net operating income. So that is all your income, like the rentals, the laundry, parking, if you're charging for internet, any sort of income that you get on the property, storage even. Okay, it's your total income minus your expenses. Okay, now the expenses does not include your mortgage though, so just keep that in mind. So that income now is called your NOI, your net operating income. Okay, so that's the I. The C is your cap rate, and the cap rate is where you can go and get from your mortgage agent, your real estate agent, any underwriter. And so, when we look at a deal, that's called underwriting. Okay, so now you can also go to the CMHC reports, the CBRE reports, the Boston reports, okay, like all of those reports that I showed you just a couple minutes ago and last week. You can go to those reports and get the cap rates. Okay, so once you have those two of the three numbers, then you can calculate the third. So the way to calculate it is, if you remember Uncle Vic, okay, VIC. So the formula, okay, is depending on what you're starting with. So I is C times V, and V is I divided by C. C is I divided by V. Okay, so that's why it's in a triangle form, so you can remember that. So for example, I have an example here. If your gross rental income is $120,000 for the year, okay, so any of the stuff in the yellow is data that you would put in, okay, assuming that you have the data. So you are making $120,000 in gross rental income. Okay, so that's all the stuff coming in. Okay, so then the expenses on this property is $40,000. So then you would be able to calculate your NOI. So that's an automatic formula, right? Which is just the difference of your income minus your expenses, not including your debt service ratio, okay, or like your mortgage, any private lending that you're having to take out on that's not included in your expenses. Okay, so then you go to the reports and you find out that the cap rate in that area is 6%. So then the value of that property, what you should be targeting to pay for that property, is 1.333. Okay, now this is important because you can gauge if you're overpaying for a property or if you're underpaying for a property. Okay, and when you go and get financing, they're going to run a similar analysis to this. So it's good to go in knowing what those numbers are. Okay, so now let's just say you find this opportunity, they're asking 1.8 million. Well, then you could back calculate, right? Basically reverse engineer the numbers here to figure out, is this a good deal or not? Okay, so we're going to use the same numbers. Okay, so we already know that we should be paying around 1.333, okay, but they're asking 1.8. Okay, so we already know that this is a bit overpriced. Okay, so now you can reverse calculate and say, okay, well, what cap rates are they really asking for, right? What should my operating income be, right, based on the 1.8 million that they're asking for? Okay, so if you know that your income is 120,000, your expenses are 40, you put in the value here, which is 1.8, which is the asking price that the seller's asking for. Well, then you calculate the cap rate that they're using is 4.4. So from an investor point of view, now you know, okay, they're saying it's a 4.4 cap rate, but it really should be a 6 cap rate. Okay, and so you can run your analysis based on that. Okay, so that is the first number that I want to bring up to you so that when you're doing your analysis, you're aware of this concept. Okay, so now let me show you the second item, because this has been coming up as part of our calculations when we're going to figure out, can we qualify for more? And especially recently, we've been looking at a lot more of assumable mortgages. And so one of the things that we're looking at is with the assumable mortgages, can we go to the existing lender and do a top up, like a bridge, to take us to maybe 85, 90, 95% even? Is there enough income to justify being able to get the assumable mortgage and then do the top up to a higher percentage of the loan to value so that we don't have to put in as much of our capital as the down payment? So let me share with you the next screen. Okay, so this is the next spreadsheet. So let me just make sure that you guys are seeing the right spreadsheet. So let me go and stop the share and bring up the next spreadsheet. So the next spreadsheet is specifically on the debt service ratio. Okay, so the DSR. Okay, and the debt service ratio is something that the lender will look at in terms of figuring out, okay, can we give you more access to a mortgage amount? Can we fund more of the opportunity for you? Okay, so let's just say that the purchase price is 1.8. Okay, so normally we would put a 25% down payment. Okay, so that's sort of the standard. And so the down payment that we would need is 450,000. So keep in mind, this number does not include closing or due diligence or reserve. Okay, so this is just a 25% down payment. Okay, so then the mortgage that we would need to get is 1.35 million. So now the question becomes, so let's just say that we want to see if we can get up to 95% of a mortgage. So even if there's an assumable mortgage, then we want to top up. If there's no assumable, then we still want to get up to 95 as much as possible, right? So if our DSR is around 1.25 or greater, okay, so that means for every dollar of expenses, we make $1.25 or more in income. Okay, so some lenders will be a little bit flexible. They'll give you a bit of an exemption and they might say, okay, well, 1.23, 1.2 even, right? I had one lender that was working with me and they're like, Huong, we can make an exception on the rare cases to go to 1.15. Okay, so that means that I would have to make $1.15 of income for every dollar of expenses that is going out. Okay, so let's just say that the rental income is 150, the expenses is 40. Now my mortgage payment, okay, so I'm basing it on this calculation over here where I'm putting a 5% down and I'm saying, okay, if I can get it up to 95% loan to value, what would my mortgage payments be? And so of course that depends on your amortization, your rate, and the purchase price, okay? So based on all that, if I can get a 5% down payment, so a 95% loan to value at 6% interest rate spread over 50 years, okay, that's a long time. My yearly mortgage payment would be 108,000. So that's where this 108,000 comes over here. Okay, so based on those parameters, my DSR is 1.02. Okay, so that's not good. So basically for every dollar of income I get on the building, I'm putting that out in expenses and mortgage payments. Okay, so that's not a good number because the lender is going to come back and say, no, like we're not going to be able to fund you up to 95%. Okay, but what they can do now is you can back calculate this and say, okay, well, how much can I get? Right? I might not have to put the full 25% down. Maybe I could put 20%, right? So what does that actually turn into? So this number at the bottom here, this box here, it's showing you the back calculations. So basically, the current income with the current expenses allows me to get a mortgage where I would be paying $88,000 a year. Okay, $88,000 in mortgage payments. So with that, I would be able to qualify for a mortgage of 1.393, so like 1.4. Okay, so if you look at this 25%, right, it's basically just a 40K difference, a $43,000 difference. But hey, as an investor, I'll take that $40,000, okay? So that means instead of putting a 25% down payment, I may be able to get away with a 22.6% down payment. Okay. And so if the seller is coming in with an assumable mortgage, let's say for $1 million, right? Then I may be able to just put in the 400,000 instead of the 450 to get me closer to the DSR, closer to a better purchase price, right? Like a better mortgage than what I would be able to do in a 25% down payment situation. Okay, so this is one additional calculation. Like once you find a property that makes sense to put an offer in, you also then want to run this analysis to say, hey, how else can I finance this so that I'm not putting my full 25%, or that I can get an assumable mortgage from a current seller and top up to, you know, whatever the loan to value is that the lender is willing to give me. Okay, so okay, good. So let me see.